Okay, so today we are diving deep into the world of speech therapy.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah, exploring how it helps people find their voice.
Hmm.
And not just literally,
Yeah,
but figuratively as well.
I like it.
Our guide for this deep dive is an interview with Mary E. Mackey.
Okay.
She's a speech and language
Makes
pathologist
sense.
who founded Freedom Therapy Services.
Cool.
And this is in Sonora, California.
California, nice.
And, her passion for helping people communicate really shines through in the interview.
Yeah.
And, when you think of speech therapy, you might picture, I don't know, like a kid
Right.
struggling with their R's.
Classic.
But it's so much more than that, right?
Oh, absolutely.
It's about addressing all kinds of communication challenges,
Yeah.
from those early speech sound disorders
Right.
to complex cognitive communication issues that can even arise after brain injuries.
Wow.
And Mary's clinic reflects that. Freedom Therapy Services provides a whole range of services
Right.
from speech sound disorders and language development
Okay.
to voice and fluency therapy.
Got it.
They even offer something called augmentative and alternative communication.
Whoa, what is that?
It's also known as AAC.
AAC.
I know, lots of acronyms.
Yeah.
But AAC is fascinating
Oh, really? Why?
because it uses all sorts of methods to help people with communication impairments
Right.
express themselves.
Okay.
So this can include things like sign language,
Okay.
visual aids like picture boards,
Oh, wow.
or even high-tech electronic devices.
Really? That's amazing.
Technology is changing the game in so many fields these days,
I know, it's everywhere.
and speech therapy is no exception.
Definitely not.
Like, even with speech sound disorders, it's
Right.
not just about pronunciation.
Okay.
Kids might struggle with articulation, like those R sounds we talked about,
Yeah.
but also with phonological processes.
I had heard of that.
Yeah, and these are basically
Okay.
the rules for how sounds are combined in their language.
Oh, interesting.
So speech therapy can help them understand these challenges and overcome them.
That makes sense.
And at Freedom Therapy Services,
Mm-hmm.
each client gets a personalized plan.
Oh, okay. Cool.
But how do they figure out what each person needs?
Good question. Yeah.
Mary mentioned a pretty detailed assessment process.
Oh, so tell me about that.
Well, a thorough assessment is really important.
Right.
It's kind of like building a house.
Okay.
You need a really strong foundation.
Yeah.
So they look at the client's history, they use standardized tests,
Right.
and observe them in different situations
Okay.
to understand how they communicate.
Wow, that's thorough.
It is.
Yeah.
It's not one size fits all.
Right.
And speaking of personalized approaches,
Okay.
this is where technology comes in.
Oh, yeah. Technology.
Mary integrates some really cool tech into her practice.
Interesting. What kind of tech?
Well, for younger clients,
Mm-hmm.
think about interactive apps,
Okay. Like what?
like Articulation Station.
I didn't know that one.
Yeah, it uses games to help kids practice specific sounds.
Oh, that's cool.
And then there's Proloquo 2 Go,
Okay.
which is an app that helps people with communication impairments build sentences
Yeah.
and communicate their needs.
Wow. Technology is so powerful.
I know.
Yeah.
And I love how these apps make therapy fun and engaging.
Yeah. That's important.
But what about people with more severe speech impairments?
Right.
What options are there for them?
Yeah.
Well, that's where speech-generating devices come in,
Okay.
or SGDs for short.
SGD's got it.
And these devices can be life-changing
Wow. Real.
for individuals who are unable to speak or have significant difficulty speaking.
Okay. So what exactly IS and SGD?
So think of a tablet,
Okay.
but with customized software.
Oh, cool.
Some use touchscreens,
Oh.
where you can select words or symbols.
Right.
Others use eye-tracking technology.
Really?
You just look at what you want to say.
Wow.
And some SGDs can even synthesize speech.
What?
So the message is spoken aloud,
That's incredible.
and they can be tailored to an individual's needs,
Well,
vocabulary,
Okay.
and even their personality.
That is so cool.
And like so many other fields these days,
Yeah.
Freedom Therapy Services also offers teletherapy.
Makes sense.
So clients can access those services remotely.
Oh, that's great.
And Mary also talked about the human touch,
Okay.
emphasizing that she treats the whole person,
Uh-huh.
not just the speech issue.
Yeah.
She sees a strong link between communication and identity,
Interesting.
relationships,
Okay.
and self-esteem.
Wow. That's a really holistic view.
Yeah, communication isn't just about functionality.
Right.
It's about who we are and how we connect with the world.
Yeah.
And when someone struggles to communicate,
Right.
it can affect their sense of self,
Yeah.
their relationship,
Definitely.
even their overall well-being.
That's powerful.
And Freedom Therapy Services offers both in-person
Okay.
and teletherapy sessions.
Got it.
So clients have that flexibility
Yeah.
to choose what works best for them.
That's great.
Mary shared a really touching story
I love a good story.
about a young boy
Okay.
who came to her with a severe speech delay.
Oh, wow.
When he started therapy, he could only communicate through gestures.
Wow.
It must have been incredibly frustrating
Oh, I bet.
for him and his family.
Yeah, absolutely.
So after a year of consistent therapy,
Okay.
patience,
Mm-hmm.
and using all sorts of different techniques,
Right.
this boy started forming sentences.
Wow, really?
He was finally able to share his thoughts verbally.
That's amazing.
Imagine the joy and sense of
Oh,
accomplishment
no.
for him and his family.
That's incredible.
It reminds us of how vital early intervention is.
Absolutely.
Mary's advice is don't wait.
That's good advice.
Early intervention is key,
Yes.
especially with kids.
Right.
But it's also crucial to remember.
Yeah,
It's never too late for adults to seek help.
I agree.
And Mary doesn't stop at individual therapy.
Oh.
She's got a bigger vision
Mm.
for the future of Freedom Therapy Services.
Oh, like what?
Well, she wants to expand services
Okay.
to reach more communities.
Wow, that's ambitious.
It is.
Yeah.
She's also interested in creating workshops
Okay.
and educational programs
Got it.
to help parents, teachers, and caregivers better support their loved ones
That's a great idea.
who are struggling with communication.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
So we've seen the wide scope of speech therapy,
Uh-huh.
the importance of personalized treatment,
Right.
and the impactful role technology is playing.
Yeah.
And we've heard about the amazing things that can happen
Mm-hmm.
when people are empowered to communicate.
It's truly inspiring.
But what if we zoom out a little?
Okay.
What if we could expand access to these services even further?
Wow. What do you think would happen?
That is a question worth pondering.
Definitely.
And it leads us to another fascinating aspect of speech therapy:
Oh, tell me more.
the challenges and obstacles that speech therapists like Mary face in their work.
Okay, that makes sense. There are always challenges.
Like funding.
Yeah, I bet.
I imagine securing funding,
Mhm.
especially for those who rely on insurance or government programs,
Right.
can be a real struggle.
I understand.
And unfortunately,
Yeah.
there's still a lot of misunderstanding and stigma
Yeah,
surrounding communication disorders.
I agree.
People might not understand what speech therapy is
Right.
or how it can help.
Exactly.
Some people think it's only for children
Uh-huh.
or just about correcting lisps or stutters.
Yeah.
But as we've seen today,
Right.
it encompasses so much more.
I know. It's fascinating.
It benefits people of all ages.
Definitely.
It's not simply about fixing speech.
Mm-hmm.
It's about unlocking the potential within each individual.
I love that.
Feels like we've only just scratched the surface of this complex and fascinating field.
I agree.
But before we dive deeper,
Okay.
let's take a moment to reflect
Sounds good.
on what we've learned so far.
Okay. Yeah, it really is remarkable how much we've already talked about.
Right.
It's clear that speech therapy is so multifaceted.
Yeah,
And, it impacts lives in ways we might not always consider.
definitely. And,
Yeah.
it's more than just therapy.
Right.
It's about empowerment.
Uh-huh.
It's about inclusivity
Yeah.
and opening doors to all kinds of possibilities.
It is.
And Mary's vision for the future, with those educational programs,
Yeah.
really speaks to that.
It does. Think about it.
Yeah.
The impact of giving parents, teachers, and caregivers the knowledge and tools
Mm-hmm.
to really understand and support individuals who have these communication challenges.
Yeah.
It could lead to earlier intervention,
Right.
reduced stigma.
And a more inclusive environment for everyone.
Exactly. It's about equipping communities to embrace, all these different communication styles and abilities.
I love that.
Yeah.
So we've talked about some of the challenges,
Right.
like funding and awareness.
Uh,
But what are some of the other obstacles that speech-language pathologists face in their work?
One big challenge is they constantly need to advocate
Okay.
for their clients
Right.
and for the field itself.
So they're fighting for things like adequate resources.
Yeah, definitely. Appropriate insurance coverage.
And even recognition of the vital role
Uh-huh.
that speech therapy plays in a person's overall well-being.
It's like being a voice for the voiceless.
Wow, that's powerful.
It is.
So it sounds like a really demanding profession,
It is.
but also incredibly rewarding.
Oh, for sure. Imagine the feeling you get
Yeah.
when you help someone find their voice.
I know.
Or you see a child say their first word.
Oh, yeah.
Or an adult who regains their ability to communicate
Right.
after something like a stroke.
Wow.
Those moments are priceless.
Yeah. Those are the moments that make it all worthwhile.
Yeah.
Speaking of powerful moments,
Yeah.
let's go back to Mary's story about the young boy
Okay.
with the severe speech delay.
The one who could only use gestures.
Yes. Can we kind of delve a little deeper into his journey?
Absolutely.
So remember, he initially relied just on gestures
Right.
to communicate.
And think about the frustration
Yeah.
of having all those thoughts and
I
emotions
bottled up.
bottled up inside
Yeah,
with no way to really express them verbally.
I know.
It's like having this whole story you want to tell,
Uh-huh.
but you don't have a pen to write it down.
Wow, that's a great analogy.
Yeah.
It really paints a vivid picture.
And for his parents,
Yeah.
it must have been agonizing
I can't even imagine.
to watch their child struggling like that.
So how did Mary approach his therapy?
Well, she probably started by creating a safe space,
Okay.
a stimulating environment
Mm.
where he felt comfortable exploring sounds and words. And she might have used play-based activities,
Right.
Incorporating his interests
Right.
to keep him engaged.
To make it fun.
Exactly.
So it's like building a bridge to communication.
Yes, using play as the foundation.
I love that. And play is such a powerful tool for learning.
Oh, absolutely, especially for kids.
It makes it so natural
Uh-huh.
and enjoyable.
Creates that context for exploration and development.
And she might have also used visual aids.
Oh, yeah, like picture cards or even sign language.
Right, to help him associate words with their meanings.
Exactly. And of course,
Yeah.
lots of positive reinforcement.
So important.
Celebrate every single step forward.
Like nurturing in a tiny seed.
Yes, providing the right conditions for it to grow.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's fascinating how all these different techniques can be combined to create this personalized approach for each person's needs.
It is.
It's really amazing.
And remember, progress isn't always immediate or linear. There can be plateaus and setbacks
Of course.
along the way. But the key is to be patient
Patience is so important.
and focus on those little victories.
The small wins.
It's a journey
It is.
that requires collaboration,
Yeah.
perseverance.
And a deep belief in the individual's potential.
Yes, exactly.
And that belief in potential is something that really shines through
Mm,
in Mary's approach.
absolutely.
It's not just about fixing a problem.
It's about empowering individuals to communicate
Yes.
and connect with the world around them.
To find their voice.
Exactly. Their way of expressing themselves.
Their unique contribution to the world.
Yes. And it's about celebrating all the different ways people communicate
The diversity.
and recognizing that everyone has
Mhm.
something valuable to say.
Earlier we talked about the technology
Right.
that Mary uses in her practice.
Yeah.
I'd like to kind of dig a little deeper into that.
Okay.
Specifically those interactive apps
Uh-huh.
and SGDs.
Yeah, those are cool.
It's amazing how technology is bridging these communication gaps.
It really is. Think about those interactive apps.
Yeah.
Like Articulation Station
Right.
that turns speech practice into a game.
I know.
Instead
Yeah.
of doing those repetitive drills, kids are immersed in these colorful visuals
Yeah.
and interactive challenges.
It's so much more
It
fun.
makes therapy feel like play.
Exactly.
And then for people who can't speak
Right.
or have a really hard time speaking,
Yeah.
those speech-generating devices
Yeah, SGDs.
can be completely transformative.
I know. Can you talk a little bit more about how they work?
Sure.
The impact they have?
So picture a device that lets you communicate
Okay.
using all different methods.
Uh-huh.
Some use touch screens,
Right.
where you can select words or phrases,
Yeah.
kind of like creating sentences on a digital canvas.
I like that.
And then others use eye tracking technology.
Wow.
So all you have to do is look at the words you want to use.
That's incredible.
It's like you can see their thoughts.
A way to unlock what's inside.
And some SGDs can even synthesize speech.
Yeah.
So the message is actually spoken out loud.
Imagine what that must feel like.
Yeah.
To have your thoughts and emotions
Right.
translated into words.
Oh, wow.
It's like giving a voice to those who haven't been heard.
That's so powerful.
It is. It lets them participate in conversations, share their stories.
And connect with the world in a whole new way. These advancements are incredible.
They are.
And speaking of accessibility,
Yeah.
let's talk about teletherapy.
Okay.
It seems like a real game changer
It is.
for people who can't easily access traditional therapy.
For sure. Think of it like a virtual bridge,
Okay.
connecting therapists and clients.
Across distances.
Yeah. So for people in rural areas, or those with mobility challenges,
Right?
or even people who just prefer to stay home,
Yeah.
teletherapy opens up a world of possibilities.
It really does.
It's like bringing the therapy to them. Yeah.
And it eliminates transportation costs and time constraints.
Right. It's all about meeting clients where they are.
Exactly. And with all the advancements in video conferencing,
Yeah.
therapists can still see those subtle cues, engage in interactive activities,
Right.
and build rapport with clients.
Just like they would in person.
Exactly. It's amazing how adaptable speech therapy can be.
So we've explored the benefits of speech therapy and the inspiring work of professionals like Mary.
Right.
But what about the bigger picture?
Okay.
What about the benefits to society
Yeah.
when people can communicate better?
I see what you mean.
How does that impact the world around us?
That's a really interesting question.
So when people are able to communicate well, it creates this ripple effect
I like that.
throughout society.
Like a chain reaction of good things.
Exactly.
So better communication leads to better understanding.
Stronger relationships, more effective collaboration.
It could even lead to more productive workplaces. Definitely more inclusive communities.
And even better conflict resolution.
For sure. When people can articulate their thoughts and needs, it fosters empathy.
Reduces those misunderstandings.
And promotes cooperation.
It's like building bridges.
Connecting people.
In meaningful ways.
Investing in speech therapy.
Yeah.
It's not just about individual well-being.
No, it's about investing in a better society.
As a whole.
A more harmonious and productive one.
Exactly.
It's about recognizing the power of communication to change the world.
Wow, I love that.
And empowering people to use their voices.
To make a difference.
To create positive change.
Well said.
Thanks.
And it reminds us that this conversation is about so much more than just speech therapy. It's about human connection.
Yes.
It's about inclusivity.
It's about the powers of communication.
To bridge divides and foster understanding.
Absolutely.
But before we get too lost in these deep thoughts, I think it's time to take a moment to gather ourselves and get ready for our final insights.
Okay.
Wow, we've really covered a lot of ground.
I know, right?
In our deep dive into speech therapy.
It's been quite a journey.
Yeah, exploring not just how speech works, but like the huge impact it has on our lives and the world around us.
It's fascinating to think about how something we just take for granted.
I know, right?
Like the ability to talk to each other.
To communicate.
Is actually so complex and it affects so many
relationships,
how we learn.
Our sense of self even.
Exactly.
And it's really inspiring to see how dedicated people like Mary are, working so hard to help others.
To overcome those communication challenges.
Yeah, empowering them.
To find their voice.
And connect with the world.
In those meaningful ways.
I love that.
And you know, Mary's story.
Yeah.
About that little boy.
Who went from just gestures to sentences.
Really shows you how powerful speech therapy can be.
That's amazing. It really highlights the dedication and the patience.
And the belief in people's potential.
That drives this whole field.
It's a good reminder.
Yeah.
That everyone has a unique perspective. A story to share.
No matter how they communicate.
Exactly.
And think about what happens when we help people communicate better.
Yeah, that ripple effect.
It's not just about them. It's about creating a more inclusive world.
Where everyone understands each other better.
And works together.
More collaborative.
Imagine a world where everyone can be heard and understood.
Wow. And Mary's vision for the future.
Yeah, with expanding services.
And those educational programs.
Speaks to that.
It does.
It's about empowering communities.
To embrace all those different ways of communicating.
To embrace all those different ways of communicating.
Exactly. Recognizing that communication is a basic human right. It's essential for everyone.
So as we wrap up our deep dive, what resonates most with you, listener?
What are you taking away from all of this? What new insights?
About speech therapy.
And communication in general.
Maybe you have a new appreciation.
For how amazing it is.
That we can talk to each other.
Maybe you want to learn more.
About this field.
Or think about how communication affects your own life.
And the people around you.
Maybe you just feel more strongly.
That everyone deserves a chance.
To express themselves.
And connect with others.
However you feel.
I hope this deep dive
has left you
feeling informed and inspired.
And maybe even
a little bit more connected.
To the world around you.
Because remember,
the power of communication
is within all of us.
Thank you for joining us
for this deep dive.
We'll see you next time.